morning, Facebook. Oops, I'm going to move this because it just zoomed in on me real good. Whew. Good morning, Facebook. It's so good to have everybody here today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gail. I am a bookseller at New Story Community Books. We are a small independent bookstore in downtown Marshall, Michigan. And we sell both new and used books, and we also celebrate everything literary and everything that supports literacy and fandoms. So we've got a whole bunch of gift merchandise as well for sale, some of which you can see behind me up on the high walls and up on top of the shelves there. So those are things you can check out when you come on in and visit us. We also do ship throughout the continental U.S. So you can order books, and if you order over, I think we moved it to 40 just because everything else has moved up. You know, inflation, it hits us too, guys. I think it's over $40. If you order $40 worth of merchandise, you can get any shipment for free. And then if you have a zip code, if you live local, that is in one of the zip codes that is listed on our website, we also can have you qualify for free delivery if you order over $35 worth of merchandise. So check out our website for more information on those things, and you can check out our website for our entire stock. So today we are going to be highlighting, or I'm going to be highlighting, some of the books that we have in store that I would call epic fantasy. Now, some people might throw down with me and say, this isn't epic fantasy, this is high fantasy, or something to that effect. I'm just going to call it, it's fantasy. It's not a genre that I have read a ton in recently, but it's one that I definitely really enjoy, and I have lots of people in my life that I love dearly who really enjoy fantasy series, and have given me a lot of feedback and given me a lot of ideas before I did this live. And we're doing this because we are celebrating the new releases of two really well-known fantasy series that are going to be on both, I think it's Netflix and is it Prime? I think it's Netflix and Prime. So, if you are someone who has appreciated either of these, ooh, there we go, either of these series, right? George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones or Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings series, this would be a video that you would be interested in. And if you know anybody who loves either of these series, either of these fandoms, definitely tag them in this video, share this video with them, and tell them about us, because we would love to connect anybody who appreciates these series with books like the ones that I'm going to be showcasing in this live. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about each of the books. All of the books that I have pulled for us today are all the beginnings of series. So they all have at least one follow-up. I think there's one that it's a duology, so it's got two books. I know there's one for sure that's a trilogy, and I'm not sure about all of the other ones. I didn't do that much digging. I pulled a lot of books today, guys. There are a ton of books that when I've done some research and when I've asked around, that people say, oh, if people like Game of Thrones, they will love this series. Or if they really like Tolkien, definitely make sure that you mention this. If there are any that I've missed, please comment below anything else that other people might like that I don't have, that we don't either have in stock, or that I just wasn't able to show to you guys today, because we would love to be able to connect not only our booksellers with more books to recommend, but also connect people that love this genre with more books that they would really appreciate and enjoy. All right, so the first book that I pulled, and there's not a whole, I didn't really try to separate. If you like Game of Thrones, you'll love these. If you like Lord of the Rings, you'll love these. I just kind of put them all kind of together. They all have a similar vibe of there's usually mythical qualities within it, usually magic, and there are usually some kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily espionage, but there's usually assassinations trying to take over kingdoms and thrones. There's actually only one of these that has a real life-esque basis, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes when I get to that. And if you've got questions or anything to that effect, feel free to comment. I hope that I'm able to see the comments. There it is. Yes, knickknacks and books. Yeah, I do have some people commenting today. HBO Max and Prime, thank you for letting me know that I was incorrect. It is not Netflix. It is HBO Max that has the Game of Thrones series. Yes, Game of Thrones series is what that was. But the first book that I'm going to show you guys, anyway, without further ado, is called Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. He has done a lot of stuff in the past that has, I would say, delved into the sci-fi realm a little bit. But this one, I would say, is definitely more fantasy-esque with some of its references to gods, and rebellions and empires that it doesn't seem to have like when I think of sci-fi I think of either a dystopian world or I think of space like I think a lot of people think of those types of things and this seems more it's grounded in an earth type setting and not going into space but anyway this is about an archipelago of Dara that had multiple kingdoms and there was constant battling within them and there was a rebellion that finally kind of destroyed what once was. And then we meet our hero Kuni, who is a bandit. So not necessarily somebody who is of the highest moral caliber, let's put it that way. And he meets a well-to-do woman named Gia, and they fall in love. And so he's kind of inspired to move towards helping other people rather than just helping himself. And then they also meet Mata, who is the last scion of a family of generals and who has gained favor with gods that are in this series. And they all kind of team up, and even though they aren't necessarily working together, they are working in tandem, leading different rebellions throughout the land in order to create a better life for those that are living there. So highly encourage you, if you like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, check out Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. So this is the only book that I have pulled that has any kind of basis in what I would say is Earth and our Earth that we know. And that's because it's a bit of a retelling. This is also the only book that I would say doesn't have um, I wouldn't say it's necessarily full fantasy, but it's a similar epic. And I definitely think that if you like Game of Thrones, this would be something that you'd really be interested in because there's a lot of the shifting allegiances and trying to gain the upper hand within a kingdom. And so I've got She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And from what I've read, when I looked into this book, it talked about how it's kind of like a retelling of Mulan, and I don't remember what another one was, but it's got some changing identity, I guess you could say, and some pretending to be someone that you're not in order to move yourself up in the battlefield. So this is a retelling too of like the Mongol Empire, I believe, is what I read about it. The Ming Dynasty's founding empire. It's a reimagining of that, a retelling of that. So it does have some diverse character representation throughout this in some of its retelling, which is really interesting. So if you're somebody who likes those political shifting intrigues, and if you really have interest in ancient China, I think ancient China is what this one is kind of set in, and those types of themes, I would definitely encourage you to check out She Became the Sun within this. This one doesn't have like a fun reminder of what's in the book. It just gives a whole bunch of praise on the back. So that one doesn't necessarily help me. I'm going off of my memory of what I looked up with this book. But definitely encourage you to check out She Became the Sun if any of that is interesting to you. So this one, when I pulled it, I was like, ooh, definitely have to show this when I'm talking about books that if people like Game of Thrones, because on the very cover, it says, if you hunger for more J.R.R. Martin, this novel will satisfy you. So this is the beginning of another series. And even look at that cover, guys. Isn't that very reminiscent of Game of Thrones? I mean, come on, it's got the sword and the blue. They're definitely working real hard with that. So this is, I'm going to say Kagan is how you say it. Kagan the Damned by Jonathan Mayberry. It is the beginning of a series, and I don't remember what the series is called. I think it's the Kagan Chronicles, something to that effect. I don't remember. It's not listed in the back of the book. I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys. But it's the beginning of a series. And so this is about our hero, Kagan Vale, and he was a captain of the palace guard, and he was meant to keep everybody safe within the royal family. And then one night, kind of Macbeth style, he is drugged, and when that happens, everybody in the family is slain. And so he runs off because he would probably be an accident, that type of thing, due to his loyalty, and the whole empire that was built with the previous king is in ruins. And so he feels like he's been abandoned by those the gods, I think is what it says in here. Yes, that he's been abandoned by those that are supporting him on the supernatural level, and so he feels like he is never going to be able to have anything good happen in his life again. So he becomes a wanderer, and he's just kind of I would say, a lone rebel trying to take down as many enemies as possible throughout. And then he's trying to figure out a way that he can get revenge on the usurper who took over the kingdom after the previous family was slain. And so this is a lot of vengeance that is throughout the theme throughout all of this, and also learning about yourself and who you are meant to be loyal to, I guess you would say, is how I would describe this book. So highly encourage you to check this one out, especially it's got beasts in it as well. So if you're someone who likes the fantasy beasts and the monsters, etc., definitely encourage you to check out Kagan the Damned by Jonathan Mayberry. Another book when I was looking through about what people might like, if they liked Game of Thrones specifically, is a book by an author that we have several books in the series by this author. We've got Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice, which is the beginning, and this is a smaller book, so I'll pull it up here. This is the beginning of a trilogy. Hold on, Farseer, sorry, it's backwards in small print for me. The Farseer trilogy, so it's the beginning of it. It's even got a little blurb by George R. R. Martin on the front, heralding its praise. This one is, I would say, it's more of the from rags to riches type of theme throughout it. So you've got the son Fitz, who is the son of a prince, but not the legitimate son of a prince, and so he is raised by a stableman instead as his child. So he's an outcast by everybody. He's not acknowledged for who his bloodline is or what he is meant to be, but he is slowly being tutored into being into the arts of assassination, hence the Assassin's Apprentice, right, guys? And he has magic abilities within his bloodline that he is starting to showcase, and so he is working to learn how to become not only just an assassin, but to hone those talents and hone those gifts. And he is sent on a very dangerous mission that may be the only way for the whole kingdom to survive. So I highly encourage you to check out anything by Robin Hobb, but especially check out Assassin's Apprentice if you really like Game of Thrones and George R. R. Martin. So I had to go take a peek, see, at anything else. Thank you for confirming that Ming Dynasty is in China. For me from previous. I didn't see the comments because I have to scroll up and down, up and down. I also wanted to make sure that I showcased some books that had female leads throughout them, because a lot of the books that I pull when I was looking at the fantasy and sci-fi section, especially for some of those series, a lot of them have male leads, and so I wanted to make sure that I showcase some protagonists who are female as well. And so here we go. So one of them that caught my attention was Andrea Stewart's The Bone Shard Daughter, which has a blurb from Sarah J. Maas, who wrote that Court of Thorns and Roses, Court of Mist and Fury. There's lots of courts in that one, blown up all the things. And so she's got a blurb about how this is a great fantasy thing. So I was like, cool, if it's got an endorsement from another author, I definitely should showcase this. So this is about the daughter of an emperor who has had a ability to control creatures that are almost they're animal-like, and they kind of keep the peace throughout the kingdom, but his powers to be able to control them is failing, which is not good, because then if the things that keep the peace aren't able to keep the peace, then peace is probably not going to be kept, right? And so his daughter, who is the heir to the throne, she vows to find a way to bring back that peace to the kingdom and bring back the power to her family. And so she delves into the forbidden art of bone shard magic, but that comes with quite a bit of cost, not only physically, mentally, but also socially as well. So I highly encourage you to check out Andrea Stewart's The Bone Shard Daughter if you are looking for a strong female lead in a new fantasy series. It is the beginning of the Drowning Empire series. So this is the first book in that. So check that out if you have interest in any of those things that I've talked about. All right, I have to showcase this one because when I first told the people in my life that really like fantasy that I was going to do a live about that, they said, "Oh, you have to talk about this series," which I think do not quote me. I think it's just a 2-book series. But it also, when I read a little bit more about it, I was like, I have to showcase this one last because this is the most. I would say this is very different from the other books that I've shown you, which all have this very serious overview. I guess it's a serious vibe within them. And this one has a little bit more of a lighthearted vibe, but also still has a lot of the action and adventure. And so the last book I'm going to show you that I would say is about Game of Thrones-esque, and before I move into some of the more magic-y series that are, I would say, are a little bit more similar to Lord of the Rings, is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames, I'm going to say is how you say his last name. And this one is about a band of previous or former mercenaries who were the most feared in all of the land of Heartwild with the Y, right, like that. So we like changing the spellings of things in this series, but that those days are past, and so they have grown up slash they have grown older, and sometimes life has not treated them so well. So they are, I would say, Thor in the second Avengers, third Avengers, the one before Endgame, the one where he completely changes from being the big buff guy to the not so much. That's essentially how I would describe all of the gents that were part of that band of mercenaries. And then one of their former crew shows up at the leader Clay, that's the leader of this, Clay Cooper, shows up at his door with a plea for help on a last kind of like a last hoorah mission, that they would have to be either, this is the quote from the back, kind of mission that they'd either be very brave or very stupid to sign up for. So I just loved the tongue-in-cheek writing, just even in the blurbs and the descriptions of this book. So if you are looking for a fantasy that I'm pretty sure it's just a 2-book, if I recall correctly from when I looked it up previously, if you're looking for one that'll just be, I wouldn't say a dense read, but a more of a lighthearted, but still have all that action adventure and quite a bit of humor in it, definitely check out Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. All right, are there any questions on there, or just people raving? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to move into some other books that I would say are a little bit more, I put them more in the category of Lord of the Rings, because they often have journeys in them, and they often have a little bit more about some of the magic things in it rather than just the vying for the top place. And so the first book that I pulled, which maybe is a little bit of a cheat, but it's fine, is another book that was also created into a series, a streaming series. This is a Netflix streaming series. So this is the first book in the Witcher series that introduces it, and I'm gonna butcher this name because I've never heard it said. It's got a lot of consonants that usually don't go together in the English language. I'm gonna say it's Andrzej Sapkowski. That's what I'm going to say is how, but I could be entirely wrong, and please do not be upset with me for that. But if you appreciate The Witcher, or know anybody who appreciates The Witcher, excuse me, we have, I think, the entire series, and this is just the first one, The Last Wish. Ooh, the Witcher series, The Last Wish, in book form. And so this introduces the main character, Geralt, who is a Witcher, and so he has magic powers, that makes him a really great fighter and assassin. And so he goes around and he's trying to destroy anything that is evil and trying to save the good, right, and save the innocent. However, he learns while he's battling a whole bunch of really interesting monsters, let's put it that way, that not everything that looks evil is evil, and not everything that looks good is good. Is how I would put it, right? So if you're interested in the beasts, the monsters, and the action and adventure, I definitely check out the Witcher series, including The Last Wish, which is the very first book. I know I talked about this. I know I talked about this author in a previous, I think maybe even the last live that I did, but I found a different series that I want to talk about with this author, for a little bit more, like I said, a little bit more representation and a wider variety. So another another series that I think people would appreciate if they like Lord of the Rings and or Game of Thrones, I would check out N.K. Jemisin's The Fifth Season. Jemison's written quite a few other brief series and a couple standalone books as well, and so she is a really prolific author within the fantasy realm. So this is the very first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. Trilogy? Yeah, trilogy. Sorry, they're all kind of blur together, guys. There's a lot of series and trilogies in this live today. And so there was a kingdom, and there was a natural disaster, or natural disaster. There was a disaster within it that spewed out ash, and that blocked out the sun. So it's very bad things when you don't have any sun. There's also a lot of murder and kidnapping that goes on right after that. And then right after, sorry, there's very few things on here to remind me of what this book is about. And then there's the land, where the people that are within it are under scrutiny, not under scrutiny, but under oppression. And so our hero must come forth, and sometimes they have to battle against the power of the earth, which is used against them, and that is not really that great for them. Oh my goodness, I'm completely blanking on what the main character's name in this is, and it's not on the back. This one just has a whole bunch of reminders, or a bunch of, what's the word for it? Just reviews. This is a whole lot of reviews, but not a whole lot of information reminding me about which one this book is. But I highly encourage you to check out N.K. Jemisin's The Fifth Season. This one has a lot of the adventure aspect that you would find in Lord of the Rings within it, and fighting against lots of creatures and against those dark forces. Another author that constantly came up when I was looking and searching for authors and book series that are similar to Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones was John Gwynne. And so this is one of the books that we have in stock by John Gwynne, called The Shadow of the Gods. And look at that, guys. It's got a gigantical dragon right on the front, like big, because this is a person in there. That's a big beastie. And this is the first book in the Bloodsworn series. I really was interested in this book and really want to showcase it to you because it draws a lot on Norse mythology. And so the gods in Norse mythology, they fought, and it ended up that they not only destroyed the area around them, but they also ended up destroying themselves, because that's kind of how war works sometimes, guys, right? And they left the land Vigrid, all destroyed within the wake of that battle. And then as things are starting to, I would say, trying to rebuild, there are three main characters that show up. We've got a huntress, and we've got a noblewoman, and we've got a thrall, that band together, that they're all fighting against the evils that are within the land, even after all of that devastation has occurred. And as they do so, they will change the course of the history of this land, as once again the gods resurface, to I wouldn't say necessarily take over, but to start to influence that land again. Highly encourage you to check out anything by John Gwynne, but especially check out this series, Bloodsworn's first book, The Shadow of the Gods. I don't think that I can talk about an epic fantasy series, or another epic fantasy series, unless I talk about our dear friend Patrick Rothfuss and The Name of the Wind, which this absolutely exploded a few years ago, guys. This is the first book in a series. Oh my goodness, I know I am blanking on what the series name is. I am so sorry on what the whole series name is. I think it's The Name of the Wind series. Kingkiller Chronicles. That's what it is. Kingkiller Chronicles. And so we do have both books in stock, but currently we just have The Name of the Wind. I'm just going to showcase to you The Name of the Wind, which is the first book in the series. It introduces our main character, Kvothe. Kvothe, I think is how you say that one. And he has done a million, jillion, zillion things. He has been a thief. He has been a mercenary. He has been a spy. He has been an assassin. He has just done all of the things that you would love to see in any kind of epic fantasy. And so this is all told from his perspective. It's in first person point of view, all I, right? No crazy trains involved though. And this also deals with it kind of is retelling all the things that he has done within his life. And so it talks about how he battled against people and creatures, how he has fallen in love, fallen out of love, and that he has done things dealing with the supernatural throughout his entire life. So, I highly encourage you, if you like the journey aspect of Lord of the Rings, highly encourage you to check out Patrick Rothfuss is the name. Rothfuss Name of the Wind. I also felt like I had to talk about this author because this is one that I always put into the fantasy realm, especially with the links to D&D within it, because that's definitely fantasy. And so another really prolific author within the fantasy realm is R.A. Salvatore. I'm going to say Salvatore. And so he has written The Legend of Drizzt. Books, and this is the first book in, or this is it's called Starlight Enclave. It's the first book in the, oh, I have to read this way, it's too small. The Way of the Drow. So this, if you are somebody who likes D&D, or if you know anybody who does, definitely recommend this one to them too. So this is set right after there was a demonic uprising. Right? Sounds scary. And then there's a rogue, Jarlaxle, who is our main character within this. And so even though there seems to be some peace that has occurred, he's a little bit nervous because things are not necessarily seeming quite so peaceful. There's a sword. Let's see, here we go. There's a sword known as the Cutter that has started wars. And Jarlaxle and some of his friends decide that they're going to go and look for this legendary weapon to try to use it for good, right? And not for evil. And as they go through, they are battling lots of different types of wars, both those that are physical ones and the ones that are more of the relational or more of the spiritual realm as well. And then, of course, there's a little bit of dashes of love within some of this as well. So if you like some romantic schmancy in your fantasy, definitely check this one out as well. But I highly encourage you, if you like the going to destroy, not destroy, but going to conquer a specific mission related to a weapon, check out R.A. Salvatore's Starlight Enclave and anything in his Legend of Drizzt books. But this is the first book, like I said, in the Way of the Drow series. All right, two more for you guys. And this is another one. I would say this is almost cheating again because I put this one in the same band, I would say, as Tolkien and as George R.R. Martin, in that it's a very well-known series, and it's also been created into another TV show as well. But this one was on Prime. This is the one I was thinking that was on Prime. So we've got Robert Jordan, is a very prolific fantasy author as well, and so he has the Wheel of Time series, and this is the first book in the Wheel of Time series called The Eye of the World. And so we have, I think, the entire series in stock right now, but this is cyclical, no pun intended, because it's the Wheel of Time. You see a lot of themes coming back up over and over. And so this is another series that I would say deals with lots of really interesting creatures. It's got a band of characters that come together to fight against the evil that is within their realm, and they're going on a journey throughout all of that. So if you like that aspect of Lord of the Rings, definitely check out Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World. Last one I'm going to showcase for you guys today is one that I think I've shown before just because it's absolutely beautiful, but I'm also excited because I just found out while I was researching that there is a follow-up to this book, and anybody that I've ever talked to about this book who has read it has said it was definitely worth it, and it was a fantastic book. So I'm super excited for the sequel to come out too, because the sequel's cover just got released, and oh my goodness, it's as beautiful as this one, guys. Definitely should check out The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon if you are interested in well done epic fantasy. So this is the first book, and I will warn you guys, it is an absolute tome. It is one of the thickest books that I've seen, aside from Stephen King books, those and Brandon Sanderson. Those are also really thick. But this is one of the thicker books that I think that we have here in stock. And so it does have a sequel that's coming out next year. So it's part of a series, I want to say The Realms of Chaos, The Something of Chaos. The Roots of Chaos. It's The Roots of Chaos is what what the series is called. So this is about the house of Berethnet has ruled Inus, which is the land, for many years. And the queen, she has to have an heir. She's looking to have a child that would be the heir. But as she is attempting to get to that point, there are those who are trying to kill her before she can have an heir, so that they can take over the kingdom. And then there is an outsider, Aed, Durian. I love fantasy names, guys. I love trying to pronounce them. They're really cool to read. Pronouncing them's a different story. And she is an outsider, and she has a lady in waiting, and she's keeping as best of a watch as she can on the queen, and trying to take care of her and keep her safe as well. And she also is someone who is magically inclined, so she uses some of that in her protection, in the ways that she's protecting the queen. And then the third character, we've got Tane, who is a dragon rider. Look at, guys, more dragons on the cover. We love things with dragons on the cover. And so she is also enveloped in the plots that show up within this book, and she has to make a choice about where her allegiance will lie, and that could completely destroy everything that she's ever worked for. Right? But I highly encourage you to check out, if you like dragons, if you like magic, and if you like some of the kingdom aspects that showed up in Game of Thrones as well, I would highly encourage you to check out anything by Samantha Shannon. She's written some other series, but this is one of her more recent ones, and she's got a sequel coming out soon, so I'd check out The Priory of the Orange Tree. All right, guys, that's all that I have for you today, books-wise. Thanks so much for joining me. A couple of things to let you know about. We will be in Battle Creek tomorrow, August 28th, for the Breaking Bread Bazaar, in downtown Battle Creek outside of Cafe Rica. Local artisans, there's going to be live music, there'll be some samples. It'll just be a really great time. So I highly encourage you to check that out. It's going to be a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend. If you can't catch us there in Battle Creek, you should definitely come to Territorial. I'm struggling so much to talking today, guys. Territorial Brewing in Battle Creek as well on September 10th. We are going to be having a grown-up book fair there. So it'll fuel all of your nostalgia and all of your wishing that you could have those scholastic book fairs from when you were a child that would show up at school. We've got those for adults, and what's even better is that we've also leveled things up for adults. So we are going to be featuring some of our most quirky, eccentric merchandise, and some of our most fun things will be on display there. It's a great way for you to start thinking of, I know it seems so early, but Christmas gifts, guys. They are going to be super unique, and so we're super excited to have that opportunity to be down in Battle Creek again at Territorial Brewing for another one of these events. We'll still be at the Farmers Market in Battle Creek as well. We don't have anything major showing up in Marshall in the next couple of weeks, but we will keep you updated when we have some more events in Marshall for you guys. We do have, today is the last day of cookbook sales here in store and then on our website, and then next week, so starting tomorrow, we have all of our grown-up nonfiction is going to be on sale. So check out our website for more information and more ideas for books. Like I've said before, please like this video, tag people in the comments, share this video, get the word out there that we have some of the cool things that you can get for yourself and get for your friends, and just anything that celebrates reading and literacy and fandom. So, and we thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to helping you find your next new story. Bye, guys.